When I first got saved, God delivered me from a 3-pack a day cigarette addiction in the snap of a finger. And tonight I'm going to do a testimony about that. So when I first got saved, I smoked 3 packs a day. I had been smoking 3 packs a day for a while, a couple years. I started smoking when I was 12. I smoked until, I got saved at 23. And the whole reason was I went into church, probably my first, second, or third time I went to church, smelling like a chimney because I smoked a lot. It was, the smell would get in your hair and your clothes, all that stuff. It got in everything. And I went in the church and I was standing against the wall by myself. And I heard some self-righteous, hypocritical lady say, I didn't know we could go to church and smoke cigarettes. Right? It's like I had literally just started coming to church. Even if I hadn't, it's none of her business, It kind of reminded me of the verse in Matthew chapter 7. It starts out, do not judge. Judge not that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. And why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye? Excuse me, I always get the hiccups when I do these videos. Or, how can you say to your brother, let me remove the speck from your eye, and look, a plank is in your own eye? Hypocrite. First remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will be able to see, then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. I believe, of course, judgment is the plank. Thinking you're good enough to judge somebody. We're saved by grace. We're not saved because we were good people. We're saved by grace. And like when I got saved, I knew I wasn't no good. And I think that's a prerequisite, knowing that you're no good. That's a big part of it. Knowing that you don't deserve nothing, but God was merciful enough to give you grace. And now you're going to sit there thinking you're good enough to judge someone else. I could say this, when God brought me into his throne room, the one thing I noticed is how helpless I am against eternity, and how powerless I am against eternity, and how helpless I am without Jesus Christ being my Savior and the intercessor for me to help me to actually make it to heaven. So instead of me comparing myself to other people, I'll compare myself to Jesus. And when I do that, I have no right to judge anybody. It kind of reminds me of, the verse, let him with no sin cast the first stone, right? Trying to judge people and thinking you're all that when you're not. So I went to church. I heard them say, I didn't know we could smoke and go to church. And I felt bad about it. And I started praying about it. I continued to go to church. Luckily, some people might have been like, forget this, you can come to church and everybody wants to judge me. But I kept going and I was praying and I felt really bad about it. We took communion at one point. And I remember feeling the communion, like the blood of Christ, wash over me and cleanse me from like addictions I had at the time. I was straight out of the world. I had issues with looking at women and, looking at their legs and stuff. That's what I lived for, was to chase women and look at women. And I felt it like wash over me, and I no longer had a desire to look at women. It totally changed me. And one day I was driving my delivery truck, and I was smoking a cigarette. It was super early in the morning. It wasn't uncommon for me to be in a 7-Eleven at 3:30 in the morning stocking the shelves. And I would typically work until like 7 o'clock at night. I'd go to work, pick up my truck, be on the road, stocking shelves at 3:30 in 7-Eleven, and I'd work until 7 o'clock at night. Most of my life, I've worked 14 hours or more per day. And I was sitting in my truck. It was dark out, and I was smoking a cigarette, driving my truck, and I heard a voice say, Chris, quit smoking. I was like, all right, flicked it out the window. Went in, stocked some shelves, delivered to that store, went back out to my truck, and I was driving my truck, and I heard a voice say, why would God talk to you? And it was the devil, of course. When I heard the voice say, Chris, quit smoking, it was Jesus. But when I heard the voice say, why would God talk to you? It was the devil. But I agreed with it. I was like, yeah, why would God talk to me, And I fired up a cigarette, and I felt a surge go through my body from the top of my head right on down through. And I heard a voice say, I'm disappointed. and I started crying, and I flicked the cigarette out the window. And from that point on, it was like I never smoked, all right? I remember I pulled up to a stoplight at like noon, and this is going to sound crazy, and you might think I'm full of it, but this is the truth. I pulled up to a stop sign, and I saw a lady smoking a cigarette next to me, in the lane next to me, and I remembered that I used to smoke. This is a guy, myself, of course, who had a cigarette in my mouth like all day long, every day. 60 cigarettes I smoked a day. And I saw that lady smoking, and I remembered that I used to smoke, and it's been like that for 30 years. It's like I never smoked. The only time I remember I smoked is when I talk about it in videos, or when I give testimonies about it. So, if you're going through something, if you're addicted to stuff, God can deliver you from it in the snap of a finger. I'm living proof of that. There's one of my buddies, and I'm hoping he can find some of the videos of us when we were kids. We used to go up north fishing, and we didn't catch any fish in that lake ever. And one of my buddies said, man, we were watching the videos. He says, man, you got a cigarette in your mouth every second of every video that we do. And I was like, that's what I do. So be encouraged. If you're addicted to something, seek the Lord, ask him for forgiveness and ask him for help, and he can deliver you from it. And if you're going to church and you're smoking, I'm not trying to make you feel bad. Like I said, I've never been a good person. So, I think that the church is for broken people, and the church is for people who are addicted to stuff, and the church is for people that need help. Jesus died for all of us. And I think, in my case, it seems like I was pretty bad. And it was like, it almost seems like the worse you are when you get saved, for whom much is forgiven, much is loved. That's, I'm paraphrasing that, and I probably said it wrong, but if God forgave you for much, you love God more. I think it was Mary Magdalene that got delivered from a lot of stuff, and she loved Jesus a lot. And, it is what it is. So, there's another verse that says something like, if one man owes somebody like $100 and another one owes them $100,000, and the debt's forgiven for both of them, which one's going to appreciate it more? Of course, the one who had the most debt. So, hopefully this helps you. If you need delivered, ask the Lord, and hopefully he'll help you and deliver you like he delivered me. So, be blessed.